Can he cap it off with a world championship? That would make esports history.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time.
BlizzCon, are you ready?
Imagine breaking out of that mold from being like a small-time tournament winner to winning BlizzCon.
It's every StarCraft player's dream.
Clash of Titans in every single matchup.
Anything is possible in StarCraft.
What's up, everybody? World Championship Series Global Finals starts now. We have Serral versus soO. Serral, the defending world champion.
He's coming in once again as a big name, and it is very rare we see someone maintain their form for such a long period. He's coming into it as the favorite. We've got Rotterdam on the desk still shouting that he's going to win it. There's a lot of people out there cheering for him as well. I mean, this would truly break the Korean dominance in StarCraft if he could win 2 in a row.
This is a really important match historically because Serral, a non-Korean, managed to win last year, which is unheard of. Koreans are more dominant in StarCraft than basically any country in anything. So the fact that he managed to win on the big stage last year is huge. There's definitely a big chance he could win here again and continue to spread StarCraft throughout the world.
Yeah, coming fresh off that GSL vs. the World victory, looking fantastic, winning multiple WCS circuit events this year. And I mean, his form recently in the group stage is just dominating performances. He basically speed ran his group, and it was just awesome to see. I mean, in the past, a lot of the times we've gone, oh, this guy's the favorite, and then they do get eliminated early. There's a tiny part of my brain that worries about that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, it's just, what a dream match. You've got soO up against him, who's the Katowice champion, who knocked him out in the quarterfinals. It's going to be a really sick ZvZ to start things off.
It's exciting, and it's also important to note that the European Zergs really started to figure something out. We used to joke about it in Korea. A lot of the Europeans would say that they had a better approach to the race and to the matchups overall.
Yeah.
And, you know, over in Korea where I cast, we thought that can't be true. This can't be a thing that's going to last. And we were totally proven wrong. And this new Zerg style has now been proven to be superior to what the Koreans have brought us as far as Zergs go.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen players here like soO kind of adapt to that. We've seen parts of that European meta now influence the Korean style of play, and that means more defending, more super powerful macro, and players really going up to the 3-4 base stage and smashing it out from there.
Now, soO is no lightweight going into this match. He's been in 6 GSL Code S finals. He's been in more finals than basically any other StarCraft player we've had. He has broken the curse of not winning those finals, so we definitely don't want to count him out, but you know, to be honest here, we do expect it to probably be a Serral victory.
No doubt. I mean, we're looking at this and we're saying soO has a shot here. He's definitely one of the players who historically has done well versus Serral, but it is such a tough match to actually win out in. I mean, soO comes in as the underdog. It's going to be sick.
All right, guys, let's make some noise. Game 1 starts now. Serral versus soO. The winner moves on to the round of 4.
Even just hearing that ticking down, it gets me so excited, Tasteless, knowing we're hopping into it. The top 8 starts here.
All right, we're on. Over here in the upper left, in the red, make some noise for Serral! And in the bottom right, in the blue, from South Korea, give it up for soO!
We're going to be starting off this match on Disco Bloodbath, and it's a big map where we've seen a lot of players really push their economy, build up to 3 bases very quickly. But because of that long distance, the Nidus Worm has really made a big play in this matchup. We've seen both of these players utilize it a lot to get those roach-based armies across the map. And we've also seen both of them experiment with some other styles. So personally, I'd love to see some Mutalisks come into this matchup. Both of these guys capable of going for that sort of Lingbane Muta style, which is really cool because it's not always just Roach versus Roach in current Zerg versus Zerg. That gives you a much more dynamic, movement-focused matchup where one guy has to harass, he's got a backstab, and the other one's more of a front-on pushing player.
Yeah, ZvZ can be very explosive early on, but we've also seen very late game ZvZ be incredible as far as positioning goes and trying to tech into the right direction. For now, we're going to be following the production tab, and nobody's really deviating yet from anything in the ordinary. But when we do see that, we'll be able to identify the tech and what direction these players want to take this game.
You know, it's been a long time, Tasteless, since I saw someone try an early rush against Serral in this matchup. We've got a large map pool, but even before that, Serral is so good with his early defensive micro, and this is why he's just respecting that. He says, hey, Hatch, get the gas, get the pool. And what I'm expecting here from soO is there's a very good chance he's going to try and wall off on 2 bases, go straight up to Roaches, and skip out on the Zergling stage of the game. Serral, on the other hand, I would not be surprised if he gets the Zergling speed to get some map control, goes out there, puts on some scouting, and goes for a much quicker 3rd base. But as things start up, that indeed is what's happening so far. Serral's got the link speed on the way. soO's going to just be turtling up on 2 bases and rushing into the Roach versus Roach game.
And this is a very Korean approach to the matchup that we've seen here from soO. Now, soO tends to end, in all matchups actually, he tends to end his games in the mid-game or the later part of the mid-game before we really enter into much later tech. So we should expect to see a lot of action from him there. The problem for soO going up against Serral is Serral really is the complete picture as far as Zergs go. He's fine rushing, he's fine defending all the way into the end game and then crushing based off economics and positioning. So I'm very curious to see exactly what type of attack, if it is going to be soO being the initiator, what type of attack that will be when we get that confirmed by the tech.
Yeah, not a lot of Zerg players brave enough to face Serral in the late game. We've seen him make incredible comebacks if he gets up to Lurkers and Vipers. Those are the ultimate end game units in this matchup. It's a long time since we've seen anyone make it that far against soO, though. soO is a master of making you fight on his terms in the mid game. And here we go. I love that Serral's got a good read on this situation. He's gone the Zergling speed, but he's seeing this Roach War and this Evolution Chamber wall off. He's scouted that soO is just sitting here on 2 bases, and Serral is going to try and build a worker advantage. He's got a quicker 3rd base already finishing. The threat, of course, is going to be an attack that could come out of soO, and with soO starting up link speed and building a Spire, Tasteless, soO is tricking Serral right now. This looks like your standard Roach build. You go up to Roach speed +1 and you do a big Roach attack while taking your 3rd base. Instead, he's going back into the Zergling tech and he's rushing into Mutalisks. This is super sneaky.
So obviously a top tier player, yeah, they see that Roach Warren out on the front and they think, okay, it's going to have to be Roach tech. And in some ways that's a waste of income if he's not going to do it, but it's probably worthwhile at this level of play to be that deceptive and tech into something else. The question now is going to be, is Serral going to be able to identify this and realize that the Roach Warren is in fact a red herring in the tech and he won't be blindsided by the Mutalisks? That's what we need to watch for.
Indeed. With that Spire coming up so fast, the Mutas are going to be a big surprise. With this build order, Serral's so worried about that Roach attack, he's delayed his lair for a long time. Because of that, he's getting more workers, he's getting faster upgrades, lots of Roaches. Oh! He spots it!
Beautiful play there, slips through with the 1 Zergling. Right before it dies, it identifies the tech. And this Roach Warren that was made here by soO in an attempt to be deceptive has so far now failed.
That is Serral's magic. In this matchup, more than any other, his ability to always slide Zerglings in and see what his opponent's doing, it's second to none. And that is giving him such a head start. You can notice he's smashing out workers, lots and lots of drones. He's building extra queens, and he's going to add just a few spore crawlers just in time to stop those Mutalisks. So this is fantastic as a response. You try to go across the map with an attack, those Mutas are going to clean it up. You just build extra economy, and you say, hey, I've got 3 bases versus 2. If I can defend these Mutalisks, I'm going to have a big economic lead in this game.
Now, behind this, soO is taking his 3rd base, but it is going to be later than the 3rd base that Serral has taken already. So right now, I think it's fair to say that soO is in a bad position. I'm not entirely sure how he would be able to flip this into his favor.
And it looks like he's just going to go for a very safe option with the Mutas, cleaning up Overlords on the map to start. A good choice. He knows Serral is going to have the anti-air in position. And he's going for a super fast Hydra Den. Lurker Den should be going down almost instantly here for soO, because I'm pretty sure his response is just saying, you know what, I've got the Mutas, but because I'm so far behind on economy, if I just go into purely Roaches, you're going to have such a bigger army than me. I will get overwhelmed. Lurker's a fantastic splash damage unit, a really good comeback unit, so he's just going to try and create space for himself with these Mutas. Really wants to continue to deny scouting, because he wants to hide those Lurkers to the last second.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing you can do with the Mutalisks is make the map a much darker place and then create ambiguity as far as what is my opponent going to be doing and trying to hide that as best he can. Now, again, we still have soO. He was in the process of playing catch-up. It seems like now, as far as workers go, he has caught up. He's finally getting to a point where his economy is now much more balanced out when compared to Serral's.
And we do see that fantastic scouting of Serral's once again. Oversteer dodges around the edge of the map, avoids the Mutalisk, spots the Lurker Den, and Serral immediately responds. He says, oh, you want to go to late game? Drops an Infestation Pit, drops his own Hydra Den. He's going to be going up to Vipers. This is Serral's favorite sort of game. We've never seen anyone really match him at that stage. Let's see what soO's got in store for us. If he's going into this, he is confident. He has clearly been practicing this a ton.
We got to point out that this is the second time in this game that soO has tried to trick Serral and it has failed. Serral has spotted it out before the strategy could really activate itself. So far, Serral has an answer for everything that soO has tried to do.
soO here not opting for a hive despite it being scouted. He's got 6 lurkers on the way and a lot of roaches. It looks like soO, I mean, we talk about him being a mid-game focused player. I think he's just going to try and attack with these 6 lurkers and a ton of roaches, try to get in there nice and early. There is a window, of course. That lurker den of Serral's being very far behind where he may be able to push in there. But if Serral gets Vipers out, the lurker advantage will disappear. You can just rip those out of the ground with Abducts, pull them into your army, or you can blind and cloud them if they're clumped up. Either of those is going to be devastating, but there's about another minute or two until Serral gets those tools at his disposal. This lurker push, it's getting across the map. It's starting to look very frightening for Serral.
And it looks like he might be burrowing right here by the rocks. No, he's going to go ahead and back up, moving just a little bit up. Further north here. Now, if he burrows the lurkers at this angle, it's very difficult for the ground army to engage it as these shots are going to come out in a line. We have a few. Oh, nice dodge there by soO, pulling that one lurker back, not letting it get picked off.
Really nice play here by soO so far. He shoves in very deep. Serral a little bit slow to jump on it. Lovely corrosive bile though, and a lot of those lurkers do fall, but he's got to watch out for that splash damage in the choke point. If you chase into that choke, those roaches clump up, and the lurker splash damage is devastating. It does so much damage to armored units.
That was certainly an overextension there by soO. He moved too far in. The arc was too big around where his army was, and Serral was easily able to punish that, and we see him reaping the benefits of that now, pushing out, taking a fourth. I think there's a high chance we're going to see him counterattack, but there is a Nidus network being made right now by soO. We got to watch where that Nidus network is going to come up.
Nice there, the lurker spore crawler defense for Serral. On the right-hand side, his mobile army moving to the left. That Nidus Worm tasteless. You can see no hive here for soO. He doesn't want to play the Viper game with Serral. He knows he'll be outmatched there. So he's saying, yeah, I'm going a bit later in the game than I normally do, but I'm still looking to finish it in the near future. He's going to be trying to Nidus Worm lurkers, roaches into Serral's main base. He's going to keep positioning around the 3rd and the 4th, sharking with his army, looking for an opening. Serral has to have very clean defense because behind this, soO's built an economy advantage. He's got the faster 4th base up. These Mutalisks are going to be fantastic for spotting where that Nidus Worm can pop up in the back of the main base. Look how far away this is from the front. If he pops a Nidus Worm there
it is.
Oh, that's because that's so far away. It's going to take him forever to get up there.
Serral is scrambling with his army to try to get back and defend. There's also the threat of a counterattack over here at his most outer base. We see now Serral trying to engage that. It is running up the ramp. The Nidus network, I'm not sure if it's finished just yet, but is anything going to spill out? No, it was denied. So far, perfect defense here by Serral.
That was such a quick pull of those roaches. Serral slaps it down so far. Does take out one of the lurkers on the front. He responds with his own Nidus Worm right now, and he's just finished Adaptive Talons. That is the lurker speed upgrade. It basically gives them permanent stim packs. They burrow so much quicker. They run around so much quicker. Serral has all the tools he needs for this late game.
Again, another Nidus network is coming down here. We have lurkers out by the front. Serral keeping this army back far enough so that no damage so far has been made. And by the way, I love the way that soO is utilizing these Mutalisks in a phase of the game where we would normally deem them useless. He's using them instead to try to pop Niduses up anywhere on the map.
Yeah, they're not a good front-on engagement unit, but they're so good with that mobility. And he's just looking for any little drones he can pick off, forcing Spore Crawlers at all the expansions. And Serral's going to counter with his own Nidus Worm. soO's being the offensive player all game. All of his supplies on the wrong side of the map. Does he have anything? He's got nothing.
He has nothing on his side of the map to defend this. So this Nidus is going to pop up in the main, in the heart here of soO's base. And there is nothing that soO can do right now.
There's lurkers out as well. 3 lurkers already burrowed on that hive. Hydras and drones are not going to cut it. soO's army desperately running home at the same time. Serral shoves down the left-hand side of the map with his Roach Ravager force, taking bites on both sides. Fantastic control from Serral.
And we have another Nidus network coming up here to the front to try to reinforce. The defensive balancing act for soO is going to be incredibly difficult as we have, not to reinforce, actually to escape and then pop back out here into the main.
A very good lurker there from soO on the defense, doing big damage on these Roaches and Ravagers. Serral taking a lot of losses. He is going to take out the Hive, but he's losing a lot of army units for it.
And now with the Hive gone, every bit of tech that remains here for soO is very precious, very delicate. He can't afford to lose anything as he is going to be reset here in tech.
That was actually an incredible fight there for soO. The Nidus Worm does go down here, but Serral's just rebuilt on pure Hydralisk. The Hydra's rallying into their death. A bit of a mistake here from Serral. He should not be on Hydralisks right now. He needs roaches. He needs more lurkers. Those Hydras just do not have the tanking power, and soO is going to take control of his main base.
And as this fight seesaws into soO's favor, I don't know if Serral's going to be able to protect his main. We could be in a situation where both players end up losing their Hives.
Oh, I didn't even know if Serral can clean this up right now. He lost so many roaches and ravages on the other side of the map, and another Nidus Worm. It does get shut down. The lurkers are trying to get in position, but Serral has taken a beating. The army efficiency here has been so much better for soO.
In a match that's been an all-out slugfest, we see both players now fairly even here in supply. Things might get quiet for a little bit. Well, as I say that, we have another Nidus popping out here over at a fresh expansion, but he's not going to attack there, instead going right towards 12 o'clock. I don't know how much Serral has to defend with this. This is a lot of Hydralisks.
Pedal to the metal here for soO. He's not going to give Serral a moment to breathe. A lot of lurkers there. Remember, he's got that Adaptive Talons upgrade. Does Serral? He's going to try to force his way forward, and there's no detection left. Oh, soO left his Overseers a little bit too far behind, allowing the lurkers of Serral to do way too much damage. That was a huge misstep for soO. Those Overseers were just off screen. They were not helping in that fight. The moment the lurkers burrowed, they survived on just red hit points and did epic damage to soO's army.
Beautiful defense there by Serral. soO, who actually managed to even out this game, had one major overextension that we just saw back there, and now soO is going to have to be on the defense. Right now, Serral is bigger, faster, and stronger.
The game's going to cool down here just a little bit as both players have reset. They both seriously wounded each other's economy, but you're going to see Serral rebuilding. soO's still harassing with the Nidus Worms. He's still on pure army production. Serral, always the economic player, looking to defend, looking to stabilize. soO, he's not really droning very much right now. He's behind on upgrades. He does not have the Adaptive Talons for those lurkers. His lurkers are not as fast, not as maneuverable. And, you know, Serral, he doesn't have any Vipers out, but his Hive did survive. That's the important thing in that whole trade. At any moment, he can build a few Vipers. His army will just add so much complexity. It'll become, I mean, just a great counter to what soO has on the map.
So we have Nidus networks being sent very far out on soO's side of the map. So Serral wants to set up an attack here. soO is maybe being a little bit too cavalier with where he's putting his Nidus networks, which are basically in the main here. And Serral is, instead of going into full-on attacks, is doing small harasses here and there, darting lurkers in and out, trying to take out workers, instead of trying to smash through an entire expansion.
It's a good way to play here at this stage. You do get more and more spread out as you get to this point in the game. We are seeing those 5 Vipers queue up for Serral. So he's going to be looking for the static engagements as much as possible. Anytime he can get a fight going in one area, he's going to be able to use all these abilities, these lurkers, to maximum effect. But soO is going to keep looking for openings. Oh gosh! Oh, he's going to dive on it, but he takes massive lurker damage. He does crack the defense, but more lurkers moving down for Serral.
Serral, he might be able to hold this off. The hatchery's getting a little bit low. He needs to get the rest of his army down here. The angling right now, very good for soO. It's going to be very difficult for Serral to come in here without suffering way more damage, and the hatchery does go down.
Good patience by Serral. If he tried to defend that, he would have taken a terrible fight. You know what? Losing a hatch, not the end of the world. He's still up on economy. But if he loses this base on the top right, that's where he'll be in trouble.
And we have that attack coming up here now. We see soO's army moving in. Serral trying to get some position, but already soO's army able to arc around and deny Serral any ability to defend this position.
Wow, he's going to lose a ton of workers at that base. He just had his 4th snipe. Now the 5th goes down as well. soO here, he's got a less technical army. He has momentum, but Serral swings back in on the other side of the map, sneaks a roach counterattack across, and it's doing a big swing of damage to soO.
This is an incredibly technical, positional ZvZ here. Right now, Serral, he got the edge, but then soO is managing to come back here. We see Serral trying to reclaim that additional hatchery that he lost down in the bottom center, as well as the one that he has not remade over here in the upper right. Serral needs to stabilize. He's trying to do that now, but soO is looking very fierce and very even-footed here against Serral.
Yeah, he's still looking for that knockout blow, though. Serral, part of what made him rise to fame in 2018 was his ability to survive games which seemed like they were lost. his ability to take a beating, to lose economy, and to just steadily work his way back into that game is second to none. He is just out of this world at it. Once again, though, soO looking for the opening. Lurker Viper coming in from the rear.
And it looks like they're going to come in here now from the bottom, but this is just too much over here for soO. He is now chasing Serral back. The Hydras and the Roaches in the north are going to push in on the 12 o'clock expansion.
soO massively out-positioning Serral with this one. Gets another expansion. Serral is going to try to corner this army. That Nidus Worm looking to evacuate. He's got to get out of there. soO, you've got to get out of there. Get into Nidus Worm. You've got to leave right now. You cannot hold this position.
If he overextends this army's going to be trapped. He's going to try and stay and fight.
Oh,
and now he's going to be going through these lurkers, taking tons of damage. And Serral continues to pursue this over here, pushing them now back outside the base area.
Oh, he salvages it a little bit by focusing down the lurkers. The number 4, massive damage goes down. soO once again overstays his welcome. And Serral, he just got a huge army advantage. He snapped the jaws on that push, and he's got his Vipers still alive. He's rebuilding his lurk account. Both players have been bruised and battered, but Serral's economy a little bit weaker. His tech units, though, much more effective in battle.
But not just that, Serral's army supply is much bigger here than soO's. So if Serral can actually take a straight-up fight, he might be able to win the game. The problem is that so much about modern Zerg vs. Zerg is about counterattacking, hence all this Nidus play.
And that's what soO's been using all game long. It hasn't been necessarily about the technical front-on engagement. It's about coming in from behind and tripping your opponent up. Now Serral looking to force out frontal engagement. Lurkers, Vipers, Hydras, and Roaches marching forwards. This is an army which soO can't really contest at this moment. He needs to Nidus across the map. He's got to pull Serral home.
We have more of Serral's army pushing over here to the right. This base, I believe that soO is simply going to sack this. I don't believe he's going to try to come in here and defend this. He should be evacuating those drones shortly here as Serral is continuing to close in.
Nice snipe there. Serral very calculated with that move. Gets to the base, pulls back, repositions. soO going to try and Nidus across the map. Without Vipers of his own, he cannot win this frontal engagement. There's just no way. Ravagers will buy him a little bit of time with Corrosive Bile. But Serral's going to be able to dodge those lurkers, burrow and unburrow so quickly. This is such a scary army.
I don't know if Serral's going to end up overextending here. This angle is very difficult to try to push through. Great, Corrosive Bile's landing down there, but soO, with this arc, it's just such a difficult area to invade.
Yeah, right now, Hydras and Ravagers aren't going to cut it. He's going to go through the rocks on the right-hand side. Serral there just easily dodges those Biles. Blinding Clouds go down. soO going to dive on top, but those Blinding Clouds are brutal.
Yeah, the great Blinding Clouds there allowing Serral to take a really excellent fight, and he does manage to pull through. And GG, Serral takes game number 1.
What a way to start the series and the day here at the World Championship Finals Top 8. Serral comes out of it, but he had to take a lot of punches to come out with the victory there.
Dude,
that was hard.
That game was so crazy. Really impressive stuff there by Serral. But it's obvious now that soO is a very worthy opponent. soO is more than capable of winning this series. I mean, he looked so strong. His decision-making was very good. Serral spotted both of those techs early on.
Yeah.
Had either of those techs not been identified, there's a very high chance soO would have won much earlier. But instead, in a nail-biter of a match, we saw Serral come out on top. He had less bases, I believe, even in the end. And the angle at which soO was attacking into, it should have favored him, but the Blinding Cloud usage was so good that he managed to come out with a victory. Incredible play by Serral.
And that's the Serral we know and love. I got to give props to soO, though. Honestly, changing up the styles so drastically there is awesome. Going for the lurkers, this is not tech we expect soO to go for. It's usually like, hey, mutas, Roaches, that's the top of the tech tree for soO a lot of the time. But he said, you know what, I can go for lurk attack, we can get those Nidus Worms going. And it really made it difficult for Serral to respond. Remember, he shut down the first Nidus Worm. I thought that would be the big surprise, but it wasn't that, which ended up making the game hard for Serral. It was the waves of it. It was just non-stop changeling sneaking into the bases, Nidus Worms going down all over the place, and his army was constantly moving from left to right. soO there just poking for weaknesses. I mean, Serral, he looked stressed at the end of that game. He really got tested there.
Well, I can't blame him for being a little bit flustered. That was such a back-and-forth series. And if soO could keep this up, there is a chance we could have an upset. soO, at one point in time, was probably going to win that game. He just Nidus too many times with his army into the main.
Yeah.
And then also didn't retreat when he was going to lose control of the 12 o'clock position in the north. he should have actually backed out instead of trading more of his army.
Yeah, when you get surrounded like that, you know, Serral is one of the best. There was this great moment where multiple times in that game, soO tried to break through the lurkers, tried to smash through defensive positions, smash out of his aggressive ones. And, you know, for soO here, it's going to be a long series to try and take this one down. Next map will be Acropolis. And then, of course, Ephemeron, Triton, World of Sleep. As you can see in the bands, that soO has taken out the most defensive large map in the pool, Thunderbird. soO obviously not wanting to play that Viper Lurker game that Serral just showed he is a master at.
And over here for Serral, we see a Winter's Gate ban. What is your take on that?
You know, Winter's Gate is a bit of an odd map because it's got those slow fields on it. So I think Serral there just saying, you know what, this map plays out a little bit differently to the others. The positioning, if you get caught out of position like in that last game, can get really rough very quickly.
Starting our match off here in game number 2. In the bottom right. I guess we're going to go to it in a minute here. All right, there we go. In the bottom right, in the red, our Zerg player from Finland. He is Serral. And his opponent in the upper left in the blue from South Korea. Make some noise for soO! So will we have an attempted deceptive play this time here from soO? soO is actually, I think in some sense, coming in here to try to end this game early on with that trickery. He got exposed.
Well, you said
by
it.
Serral's scouting.
You said it, he overextended a little bit a few times as well. He did get exposed multiple times. And I feel like sometimes the players going up against Serral, they fall into this trap of, they see this guy who takes so many punches, he's so hard to knock out of the game. And they do overextend sometimes. You could see soO was like, hey, I've done damage. I've got to get more. I need more. This is Serral. You can't give him any space in this game. And sometimes players just get so focused on stopping Serral get to that unstoppable point in the game where he is perceived as just on another level entirely, that the players do sometimes overextend. And I mean, this is the way the series always plays out. It's almost always a player says, I'm going to try and trick you. I'm going to try and trick you again. Here's a curveball. Here's another one. And the moment they get an inch, they try to force it home. Maybe the right call is pull back at a few of those key moments, consolidate your advantage. Once Serral recognizes that you're committing this much, he will adapt and respond to it. You do have a bit more length in the game. You don't have to finish it right there. So I'd like to see soO being a little bit more patient with pushing those advantages.
I also wonder if there's a chance soO simply tries to win off finesse instead of deception. Maybe he tries to go for a Ling Bane early on. He's had a lot of success with basically every Zerg player in the past trying stuff like that as well.
Absolutely, he's a master of it. We aren't going to see Ling Speed. There we go, does start up for soO just a few seconds after Serral. So indeed, definitely an option. One build order we've seen quite common on this map. Players try to do a big speedling pressure, rush across the map, and really just keep their opponent occupied, surprise them. And behind it, they cut the Baneling nest, they go straight up into Roaches, and they kind of sneak away without building those defensive Banelings. They still get up a quick third base. So that's a build order. soO, I mean, it matches his playstyle very well. Wouldn't be surprised if he pulls that out here.
Again, one thing we saw from Serral is just how good he is in positions where it looks like he's going to lose. A lot of times, Zerg versus Zerg, it's a matchup where if one thing bad happens, it tends to snowball. It's very easy if you lose one base to then lose several more, be unable to counterattack. But Serral bends reality when it comes to Zerg play in ways that we've just never seen before. Again, I don't know that soO can win this if he goes into a late game, so I'm waiting to see, are we going to have any of that kind of early tech or some kind of special timing attack?
I love the way you say that, Nick. I mean, bending reality, that really is, in this matchup especially, his ability to fight on 3-4 fronts at once without any major errors, it's incredible. And we saw it in that last game, Nidus Worms getting up inside his main base, and yet his crisis management, oh, it's so good. His ability to stay calm under pressure, so powerful. Serral goes in for that trademark scout once again. We call them Serral Zerglings for a reason. It's because they always find a way into the base and they always see everything that his opponent's up to.
Yeah, this is a full scout. Now, even though there's no tech that would allow him to see what's happening, he also knows that there's no surprises in store for him early on. And So this scout has been very effective. soO wants to get rid of this as quickly as possible.
Look at how long he keeps it
Just how he
alive.
manages to move this around. Now he's going to get a full scout here, the natural.
He sees everything.
He even, I believe, yeah, he even saw the Roach War in there. So he's just seen everything. Now another attack in here to harass these workers. Right now, Serral very on top of everything in the early game.
And if Serral knows what's going on, he's got a good read on you. He's very powerful. It is going to be a bit of a mirror matchup. Serral already with just a small worker advantage, but neck and neck. Both players going into the Roach game from here. Lairs on the way, droning up the third bases. These Zerglings really just a very light harassment force, poking around, looking for information, just making sure that the other player hasn't really cut any big corners. Once again, Serral looking for the scouting lane. He sees how many drones there are on the third, and that allows him to read into how much his opponent's committing to army versus economy. Serral is constantly making these calculations. Notice this Ling as well. A lot of players let that go down. He pulls it out, sends it back in, pulls it out, sends it back in. Because of this, Serral is able to constantly keep track of his opponent's economy, and that's one of the most important things in Zerg vs. Zerg. In that last game, it was his opponent trying to cut a corner on the economy going up to Mutalisk. In this case, he sees that many drones, he knows it's just Roach versus Roach. It's a really standard game.
That's right. Once you come in and scout and you see that they've stopped making workers and are making more attacking units, then you know that things might start to heat up. And again, over here on the edges, soO continuing to come in with small, tiny little pokes to see if he can't thin out any of the defenses over here for Serral. But so far, Serral's been very on top of everything, using those queens to shoot down those banelings before they can connect to lings or drones to do damage. And now we've got the Spire on one side of the map. On the other side of the map here on soO's side, it's going to be the Nidus network.
Yeah, Serral has seen Roaches popping out. He's just scouted the missing 6th gas geyser in soO's base. He knows that soO is massing Roaches right now. soO is going to be going for a big Nidus Roach attack. Serral was trying to be sneaky and go for the Spire. I think he's actually canceled the Spire.
Yeah, he canceled it. You're right. He immediately pulled out here. Both players are in a Roach arms race right now. Now, soO's Nidus network is about to finish. The question is, where will he throw that down? Will that be in the main? Will it be on the edge of a base? The Nidus can be used to spring an attack where your opponent's not ready, or in this case, it looks like reinforce an attack on an exterior position that's in Serral's control.
This is a fearsome attack, Tasteless. We've got 2 spines, emergency response here from Serral. He's down 11 workers is soO, which means he's got way more Roaches, and he's going to look to push in, but that defensive position, that's a wall. I don't know if you can push through that as soO.
Now there's a second Nidus network coming up here in the main, but already Serral is here to put that fire out. The Nidus is getting closer and closer to finishing. I think he just barely kills this.
He gets the Overseer. He gets the Overseer.
Yeah.
Oh, but actually the Nidus Worm did go down on the low ground just before, but Lings and Roaches on it. Serral's emergency response, good as always. soO has not started building workers. He is trying to commit everything to this push. The Roach is rotating down to the left-hand side. He's going to try and push up that ramp.
Okay, so far, nothing soO has done has worked. Both of the Niduses in the main were shut down. The attack that was intended to topple the third base, they can't get an inch in there. Serral's defense so far airtight. Niduses are being thrown down more and more and more, but I don't see anything succeeding for at least a little bit.
Those Spine Crawlers is such a powerful anchor in this position. They add so much range damage here. Nice corrosive vial from soO, but that is a beautiful arc of Serral. Just more of his units all shooting at once. Every time soO pushes forward, he is walking into an arc of Zerg fire.
And there's just so much damage being received here from soO. The supplies are getting further and further apart as we see Serral continue to come out and pounce on top of the army of soO.
That is a beautiful engagement there by Serral. Just shuts it down. Every second that went by that Nidus Worm couldn't get up, soO was getting more and more desperate. He knew he needed to make this push work because Serral is about to get a huge upgrade advantage. His +2 is about to kick in. He's shut down the attack. He's been up 10 workers the whole time. Textbook defense by Serral.
And here we see Serral combing through the map to take out the remaining Niduses. soO, so far this has been a much more straightforward game. He even tries to counterattack, but a Roach to block the entrance. Nothing is working here for soO. Serral now with a 50 supply lead.
Beautiful play here by Serral. That is it. He is so hard to break. His scouting so good. His Overseer found the Nidus early. He's managed to sneak out a spy. He's both got a better, higher tech Roach army, and he's got Mutalisk tech on the way. soO here going for his own desperation Spire, and I tell you, Tasteless, when your Spire starts, when your opponent's Mutas are hitting the field, you are pretty much knocked out. You are in a very bad position. This is just such a clean game 2. It feels like a bit shaky game 1. Game 2, Serral has been in absolute control the entire time.
Yeah, I was hoping that we would see soO make the correct adjustments from the mistakes he made in game 1 and come back a better player, but it seems like it's actually Serral who is so on top of exactly how his opponent's playing. He's able to stop everything this time around. Now we have the Mutalisks coming out on the map here for Serral, and so there's nothing that soO can do to really contest this, at least for now. Roaches are going to have nothing they can do against Mutas, and so map control right now going to Serral.
Yeah, Serral's actually going to go for Baneling speed here as the follow-up as well. I do love to see that. He realizes that he's got the big economy advantage now. He's got some Mutas in the sky that are going to pin soO back. And he says, you know what, how can I add to this position? Well, good chance you get forced into Hydralisks. I'm going to go speed Banelings to crush through that. Now, what Serral doesn't realize is soO, the madman that he is, realizes he needs a Hail Mary, and that's going to be Mutalisks of his own. He says, you know what, hopefully all your gas is going towards other things. I know you're not going to keep building Mutas. I'm actually going to bank up Mutas. He's going to hide them in the back of his base, try to get up to like 15, maybe even 20, and then come out and surprise Serral all at once. This is a huge gamble from soO, but it could pay off.
Now, if he does get more Mutalisks and then wins that fight, that will seesaw the game back into soO's favor. Again, soO relying on lack of intel over here for Serral. He does not seem to be comfortable trying to take Serral on in any mechanical fashion. Instead, he is ready to try to come in here and blindside him with a very abrupt tech switch. Now, note, I believe he just saw one Mutalisk fly by.
Yep,
he should know.
Infestation Pit and Hydroden going down are going to unlock Infesta, Hydralisk, and possibly most importantly, Viper Tech. Serral here putting down Spore Crawlers. He's just got to cement his defenses. And I love the fact that soO here prolonging this situation in this game because he's so stuck on mass Mutatech though. If Serral can survive, look at that, takes out his own Roaches to free up supply, replaces them with Hydralisk. Such a high IQ move there for Serral. Just realizing as long as he hangs on, he's built a huge advantage. He's got the bank. He can afford sacrificing a few units. He's just going to avoid those Mutalisks finishing his economy off.
That's right, and so far he's really just handled everything pretty perfectly. By the way, soO is doubling down on the Mutalisk play, getting the air attack upgrade and continuing to make more Mutas, but I worry. I feel like everything that soO's trying to do, Serral identifies in just enough time that Serral can engineer a response to it.
Exactly, and hey, he wants to sacrifice a bit of supply. Why not take a few drones with you? Gets in here, takes out a good handful of drones. Great focus fire there. He's going to take out 7 workers. A very good trade for Serral, who can replace that with Hydralisks. And I mean, at this point, Serral's bank not that big, but it doesn't need to be. He just needs to get out Vipers. He needs to get out enough Hydras. He's going for his +2 Carapace upgrade. I actually wouldn't mind a few more Spore Crawlers right now. Serral does not have both Hydra upgrades finished, and that is a lot of Mutalisks. I think just give up this 5th base, play it careful.
Good denial over there. Meanwhile, Serral actually counterattacking with his Mutas, going for the Nidus Worm that's over on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, soO continuing to do more and more damage. Here comes a big Roach attack, but it looks like Serral has enough to hold this off over here as well.
Yeah, Serral's Hydra's going to go to fight the Mutalisks. Oh, soO not watching. He's going to take that engage. I'm not sure if that's the right call. The Roach is still on top, smashing soO's Roach Force. 2 upgrade advantage there for Serral, and the Hydralisks in the main, they did not quite win the battle, but they've traded out, and there's only a handful of Mutalisks left. That was a costly trade for both players.
For a little bit, soO's supply was ahead, but it seems like this attack has slowly dwindled off. Another Nidus network is coming down. It seems like soO once more wants to look for some kind of opening where he can take another fight.
Well, isn't this awkward, Tasteless? He's actually said, I've got air dominance with the Mutas, let's go back into Mass Roach. And Serral's actually like, hey, wait a second, I never lost my Mutalisks. I've got air control now, and this is forcing soO to reinvest even more in Mutalisks. Otherwise, he's got nothing that shoots up. Funnily enough as well, the Nidus Worm got sniped. soO's just saying, let's replace it, let's rebuild it. You won't be expecting it because you took it out. And he's going to still just go for a gigantic Roach Assault when his Mutas push back Serral.
Oh, we're going to have an unusual fight where nobody's going to be on creep for the time being in this Zerg versus Zerg. The Mutas in a dogfight of their own over here in the center of the map. It does appear that is soO have just a little bit more? I believe he does, and so Serral's going to lose on that front. Now, Serral has more bases than soO, and therefore has more chances later on in this game, but if soO could pull off a good attack, and it seems like he might be able to get himself in that spot here soon, he could even things out.
Yeah, that Nidus Worm going to be the big play for soO. Remember, he's way behind on upgrades, but his +2 is going to be kicking in pretty soon. Unfortunately for him, Lurkers are hitting the field. Serral has Tunneling Claw Roaches, which are going to start burrowing into his opponent's base, popping up inside the worker lines and taking down his economy. He's got Adaptive Talent Lurkers, he's got Vipers. Serral has an epically powerful army right now. soO. He's struggling to defend against this push. The blinding clouds are going to be massive.
He comes down now. He's wedged himself in between the third and the fourth base. We have soO's army trying to come in here for a surround, and that surround absolutely crushes through everything that Serral has as he retreats to lick his wounds.
Yeah, nice hold there by soO, flanking it from two sides. These roaches making a little bit of mess of the worker line, continuing to be annoying here, but soO has actually worked his way back into this game splendidly. He's been a little bit ahead on economy for a while, now about dead even. He's still got a few mutalisks being a pain, but it is the tech advantage that stands strong. 5 base versus 4 base. Serral has a larger number of bases to mine from, and the Vipers and the Lurkers are the resource that you always have to fear. We've talked a lot about this series and how it's very much a game of don't let Serral get this army. Don't let him stabilize at this point of the game. And soO feels that pressure more than ever. He needs to surprise Serral here. He needs to break through.
By the way, it seems like we have a blind spot here in the defense of Serral. There was a Nidus network that is going to pop up. Great harpooning there to take those units out, but I guess this Nidus network is not going to be used at all. So once again, Serral's defense impenetrable.
Yeah, he's always reacting, even there when there's a blind spot that goes unnoticed. Look at this, roaches come in, walk into a wall of spine crawlers and a lurker. soO unable to find an opening, no weaknesses here. The Finnish player standing strong and just presenting a wall. I mean, soO is staying in the game, he's showing stamina. But you've just got to look at this and say, what's the late game play? What is the end game play? It really seems to be a big surprise. Nidus Worm, Serral a little bit slow to respond to that one.
And it does come out, and a second Nidus is coming in here as well to continue to reinforce as soO barrels into the main here of Serral. Serral is scrambling to try to get up his ramp and defend here, but again, that second Nidus is about to finish, which means there's going to be more units coming in or a clean retreat here from soO.
Yeah, nice abducts on the Ravagers, does take them out. Serral, though, has to move a lot of his army down here into the main base. He's got to quickly reposition to the north to make sure he defends his bases. At the same time, though, Serral, even when it seems like he's all purely defense, it's always that moment when he finds a way to slide a pack of roaches across and 10 workers going down. soO, not on that large of an economy, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, great defense there by soO. soO still with the army that's trying to create the threat. Serral is really playing this in the long game. He's just trying to outlast soO. He knows right now, especially with Serral having more bases, by the way, he should be in good shape if he can just run the clock out, so to speak.
Yeah, these lurkers coming down from the left-hand side. Gonna try and wedge this army. A good blinding cloud goes down. A lot of lurkers get focused there. A bit of a messy engagement for both sides, but they were lower tier units that were getting traded out for soO, while Serral lost a lot of lurkers. So soO making the best of some very uncomfortable situations.
And now we're going to have Serral take out this last Nidus that's up here. I don't know that Serral wants to counterattack. We should note that soO actually has more minerals and gas banks. So when they're both maxed out, when the two armies collide into each other, soO can more quickly reset what he's already got and bring that back into the game.
And the Mutalisks continue to be a nuisance spotting for the Nidus Worms over here. I mean, he's just looking for Serral to get distracted enough that one of these pays off in a big way. But Serral is on the other side of the map, even puts down a harassment lurker after sniping that hatchery. And Serral's just so quick to respond. This big Roach army on the south side, though, looks like it wants to come in for a surprise swing. There are lurkers there, and there's no Overseer. It is a little bit behind the battle for soO. And soO's army might get cornered right now. Serral, I mean, he's just going to push onto the economy. 2 of soO's most important bases are exposed. There's no units here to defend. It's Serral's turn to force the fight. soO knows he cannot match that army.
GG, another Serral victory, bringing this series to a 2-0 lead. Our Finnish Zerg 1 win away from moving on to the Final Four in the World Championship Series Global Finals. I got to say, that was another great game, but it was looking even harder for soO in game number 2.
This is it, right? You know,
yeah.
Serral's catching on. He's realizing, all right, you're trying to surprise me. You're trying to just throw these constant Nidus Worms, and we saw how quick Serral was that time. I mean, there was so many moments where those roaches just finished it. Remember the very first attack, pack of Zerglings in the main patrolling, roaches at the front. It was just an impenetrable wall. Awesome play.
I'm not sure what exactly
soO's supposed to be doing. It seems like no matter what happens, he's able to basically hold off anything that soO is going to do. And soO is playing some of the best ZvZs I have ever seen, by the way.
Yeah, this is an awesome series so far. It is heating up. I cannot wait to see where this series goes. We'll be right back in 1 minute.
BlizzCon 2019 is brought to you by T-Mobile. Their newest signal goes farther than ever, and it's built 5G ready. MSI True Gaming. Intel, the official CPU partner of BlizzCon. Cisco, the official networking partner of BlizzCon. And by HyperX, we're all gamers.
Welcome back to the World Championship Series Global Finals. We have a 2-0 lead for Serral against soO, and I don't think it's possible for soO to turn this around. I hope I'm wrong, but right now Serral is looking untouchable.
Well, I mean, game 1 to game 2, we've seen Serral go from a game that was a bit scrappy, very dicey at times, to an unstoppable wall, right? Yeah. I mean, soO's pulling out all the stops. We always see this funny dynamic. Players are trying to surprise him, they're trying to catch him off guard, but Serral's scouting is so good and it is so hard to stop. The Zerglings are non-stop, the Overseers are diving in and out of the bases, and he seems to just catch everything just before it becomes a problem.
Even in these positions where it seems like soO might be able to take the game, soO actually gets the upper hand. And again, ZvZ, it can be kind of snowbally sometimes. Serral hunkers down, he defends. It's almost as if he knows that when soO gets the lead, there's a very high chance that he'll also overextend and allow Serral to get back into the game.
Yeah, I think there's something about that knowledge. Knowing your opponent isn't going to try and match you in that mega late stage, Serral doesn't feel as much stress to go up to 70+ workers. He's just saying, look, if I can just defend my 3-base setup, if I can just keep progressing a step at a time, I don't need to rush to the finish line of getting up to the Vipers, the Lurkers. Let's play that mid-game, let's leave a few units in the main to block the Nidus Worm, and let's prepare for everything that comes our way.
And let's go into game 3 now. In the bottom right, in the red, he is Serral! And his opponent in the upper left, in the blue, from Korea, give it up for soO!
Being down 0-2 at this point, one of the hardest positions a pro player can find themselves in. Having to win the next 3 maps in a row to progress to the semifinals, soO has to continue to play with no fear. He's got to find a way to upset this just absolute titan of an opponent. Serral, his ability to hang on, second to none. But we've got a smaller map. It's Ephemeron here. It does open up a little bit more potential with these timing attacks, these big roach pushes that soO's known for. It can catch Serral off guard. He's got a lot less time to respond.
That's right. On tighter maps, you don't have to be as reliant on Nidus Worms in order to get quick engages in unusual spots. Again, we can also have a short game that's more typical of a ZvZ with the rushes with Lings and Banelings. So far, both players have avoided that. I don't know if that's because they're so confident in their late game and in the Nidus play and Lurker play that they want to rely on that, but we haven't had either of these guys rush or try to pull the trigger early on.
Yeah, it's very funny because you don't see that a lot with Serral. There are some players who will try to match him, but very rarely do they get ahead off that opening. I think a lot of players are a bit intimidated by Serral's control, so they look at him and they say, do I really want to play the most frantic, fast-paced, action-packed early game of Zergling Baneling versus Zergling Baneling? A lot of players shy away from that, and they don't really test him at that stage. But I agree with you, and it looks like soO does as well. He's going to go for that Zergling speed, as he did on map number 2. And we'll see if it works out.
So far, the builds are mirroring each other. We're waiting to see when one of them will branch off into a specific tech tree. For now, it's drones and queens and the same upgrades. Most likely, yeah, we're going to have a 3rd base taken up here. So no action for the time being. But again, it's inevitable that we're going to have these guys start to heat up and fight. I'm very curious to see what happens if we have the 2 players go in 2 very opposite tech directions.
You know, I've seen Serral play this map quite a few times at this point, especially when he's up in a series. The evolution of Serral this year is more and more aggressive play, especially when he's up in a series. He doesn't always just sit back. He's not a one-trick pony. When he started coming up the ranks and becoming a top player, he was really just playing late game. He wanted to defend, he wanted to survive. Every game was a macro fest. Nowadays, he does sometimes just branch into some crazy aggression, and this would be the map for it. The 3rd base is spread far apart. It's hard to defend the 3rd base and the natural expansion. There we go, 14 Zerglings in the production tab. Looks like Serral, he wants to put some aggression on. So many players are being greedy against him. Let's see if soO plays safe enough.
So we have those 16 Zerglings being made, along with the Banelings nests on both sides, but there are 12 Lings being made on soO's side, which means he may have enough to defend. Although, it's not always a game of numbers. A lot of times it comes down to if the Banelings can connect with the Zerglings and or the drones. If you end up getting worker kills or major army kills, things can start to snowball.
A lot of Banelings being morphed in defense here for soO. The Zerglings are going to come in and start attacking that hatchery. The Zerglings do come up there for soO. A couple of Banelings waddling forward. They are going to push those Zerglings off the hatchery. It takes a light bruising. but no critical damage just yet for either side. The dance does go down. Good focus fire. Serral takes down the Baneling. Where are the other Banelings of soO's? They're over at the natural. They need to get up here. Two more of them start to waddle up, but they are a little slow to the party.
So far, so good here. Serral, very good control, dives one more Ling into that Bane. The Queen's coming up for defense as well. The second Bane goes down.
Ooh.
And it looks like at the end, the third is going to be taken out. Things will probably slow down at least for a little bit, as that's going to be the end of the first attack from Serral.
More Zerglings coming across to counterattack now. Of course, Serral was holding down that drone key hard during that fight. He's gotten himself a worker advantage, but he's got to deal with soO's superior army. A lot of Zerglings here. Serral gonna take a lot of damage on that hatchery. So many Zerglings for soO.
Right now, the hatchery is about at half health here. We see that he has managed to drive him away. soO, again, with that remaining army, he decided to try to take use of that and attack down there. He does manage to save the hatchery. Let's see if soO continues to try to press forward. He's got drones being made back at home, but he has such a large number of units, he may try to attack in somewhere else.
Nice Zergling split-offs there by Serral. Trying to, of course, set off a Baneling on just one Zergling, gets the snipe. Nice control there. Serral's already got a very fast +1 range upgrade behind this. He's got his Lair and his Roach Warren on the way as well. So his tech a little bit ahead, but soO, now that he's been keeping Serral back on his side of the map, has held down the drone gate. He's going way up above 50 workers very quickly, and it's Serral's turn to swing back across. He says, hey, you forced me to make a lot of defensive Banelings. Well, I might as well shift across and put the pressure on you. soO here really trying to skimp on the Baneling tech. He's being very greedy with just 2 Banelings morphing.
Yeah, with Serral going to try to come in here at the top. Again, it's not going to be easy, but with these 4 Banelings, you can absolutely pressure the other player to stay back and respect the space that you already have.
Yeah.
It's great control here, taking out more of those Lings. Every Ling is so precious in a ZvZ. You need as much as you can to try to help defend. And we have 2 more going to be slow dripped into this expansion area as he tries to get any kind of moment where he can attack it. And here's a great dive on that Queen.
Yeah, nicely done splitting a few Lings off, but good defense by soO. Shuts it down and even gets an Overlord that accidentally trickles in there. Those Zerglings that Serral tried to run by in the main get deflected. soO here, fantastic defense, stabilizes, still looking solid in this game. But Serral, that worker advantage, it's been maintained. The upgrade advantage is there. He's got about 45 seconds, 50 seconds of upgrade advantage on that +2, and that's going to give him a very strong Roach versus Roach timing attack.
And we are eventually going to phase out the pure Ling and Baneling attacks that are coming out in this game as they're going to try to tech up. Roach is certainly much stronger to fight a lot of those Ling Baneling unit groups, although they're not always quite as fast.
Indeed, a slower unit, better in those direct engagements though, especially as the upgrades tick on. Serral though, going for the second evolution chamber, is going to go for +1 carapace. soO's going to do the same, but it's going to be quite far behind, so I definitely think that 2-1 Roach timing attack, if Serral can engineer a few good engagements in that moment, you're going to be working with the exact same army, but you've got a 2 upgrade advantage. That could be massive, and already, I mean, neck and supply, an upgrade advantage is huge at this point.
Absolutely, and I can't imagine that he's going to not do something like that in this moment. Some of Serral's Lings are now moving through the map. Good block off there by soO, able to shave off a small bit of that army. Every little advantage is going to help. But I think you're absolutely right, Pig. We are going to have this moment when those upgrades finish, and the timing attack is going to be very strong and very difficult to deal with.
Nice cleans up here. soO getting the Ling Bane advantage, which is going to give him a nice little backstab force. Units that can run in and harass, maybe snipe off the 4th base of Serral. Serral going to actually go for a Roach drop here. A lovely little micro harassment you can do. The Lings of soO just diving on into the base will get a Queen, making the most of these low-tier units.
The Lings now come inside the main here. soO keeping Serral very honest as far as his defense goes, and more Lings going to come in here and try to get just a few worker kills. The Nidus is about to finish here for soO. This has been very thematic with soO. Whether it's with the Nidus or not, he wants to get the first engagement off. He wants to try to get control of his opponent, maybe get him at the knees, so to speak, and then try to dominate from there. And this game is no different. The question is it going to work this time? Because the last times that soO's come in here trying to slow Serral down or get him in a timing attack, it has been easily denied.
Serral there, he's posturing with a Roach drop on the left-hand side, trying to catch up in the Roach. The Roach count is soO. And of course, those upgrades kicking in now for Serral. He's got that big 2-1 advantage. Does lose his Roach drop on the other side of the map, though. Does get sniped down.
Okay, Nidus coming in here. This is going to be denied very easily.
Shows it very early there. The Roach attack on the left-hand side, of course, looking to catch him out of position, but Serral's army is just way bigger right now. Ooh, he's going to notice those tunneling claws have finished. I'm sure Serral noticed that. Of course, the tunneling claws and burrow. soO going to be able to start just tunneling his way into the worker lines, looking to harass Serral down.
soO right now is again trying to get a Nidus up here. You can see Serral immediately reacts and is able to come in here. And again, this is a Nidus that is not going to work. I have to wonder if it would be better off using the Niduses on the exterior of Serral's bases in a place where maybe Serral can't deny it in time, and then try to hit from 2 different angles.
Yeah, another Nidus goes down in the main base, and at the same time, soO does jump on top of some Roaches and Ravages out the front. soO here, he's posturing very aggressively, a few Roaches running by. Serral spots it, but he hasn't quite shut it down just yet. With the Nidus worm popping in the main base, things could get very messy very quickly here. I think that's a slight army advantage for soO, but it's very, very close. The piles do land there. At the same time, soO's gonna push on the 3rd base.
You can see the drones now are being pulled to try to help out in this fight. We don't have any more army coming through that Nidus network just yet, but Serral beginning to close in. The Nidus network very low on HP. It is taken out, and this means Serral will clean up this attack in his main.
At the same time, deflects the army in the center of the map. Serral once again just presenting that impenetrable wall of defense. soO struggling to find purchase, and he really is just trying to create as many problems as possible for Serral. But I think at this point, realizing he cannot wear Serral down in this game, he's let Serral get to this stage, and he's actually going to go for Hive. soO is going to try and contest Serral in the end game. He's going to try and go toe-to-toe with the Titan, with the world champion himself. Let's see if soO's got what it takes.
Okay, that Nidus coming in here again. Always an answer here with Serral. This will die as it pops out and finishes. I don't see soO doing enough damage here. In a sense, he's getting the initial part of these attacks off, but then he hemorrhages his army once it starts. And he's eventually going to end up with a series of bad investments as far as where he tried to hit, because in one sense, he's also feeding his army into his opponents. There is going to be a moment where Serral is going to be able to come back out on the map and assert himself.
Well, you know, Tasteless, this sort of strategy, it's all about throwing enough problems at your opponent that eventually one of them sticks. Eventually, you do find a mistake, and it looks like soO may have found one. A hatchery snipe. A lovely run by with those burrowing Roaches. A good snipe by soO.
Not just a good snipe, but a good escape as well. Meanwhile, Serral's main army is just outside, and it looks like he's going to try to hit this location in the top center. Another very important base. If Serral can get this, it would be huge, but soO with such a large army here to defend.
Oh, yeah, he can't get that snipe. Good evacuation there by Serral. You do not want to overstay that welcome. Remember, guys, soO has actually been up a little bit in economy. Since he's kept Serral so busy, he's been up at close to 70 workers. Serral sitting a little bit lower on 60. You can see the income advantage chart there showing that it's been a couple of minutes there with a big advantage. And Adaptive Talon's now on the way for his lurkers. His upgrade's not too far behind. This is going to be very different from game one. soO is actually going to have all the tools at his disposal.
One location on the map we want to watch for is this hatchery in the top center. It's very low on HP. We saw Serral's army drive by that and do a bunch of damage. It's not far from being sniped off.
Oh, and he's going to go for it.
This moment right here, right now. He goes for the hatchery, even over the drones, as he knows it's a very important play to do, and now he'll try to escape. This is going to even out the battlefield a little bit here in this soO versus Serral match.
Yeah, nice dent in the economy, but a good cleanup overall by soO. I don't think he minds that trade, as he does catch a fair number of Roaches, and it doesn't open up any other opportunities. I feel like this sort of snipe here, where you sacrifice some Roaches for a base, it's okay in the short term, but it's only really good if it opens up another avenue of attack, if it distracts or pulls your opponent out of position. And as it is right now, it still seems to be soO who's the one branching Roach backstabs across the map, tunneling over. Serral catches it though, shuts that one down.
Okay, Serral coming through here and denying the small bits of armies that are trying to come in and disrupt the economy here of Serral. Meanwhile, we're finally seeing soO take the upper right spot on the map, as he's also reclaiming that hatchery that was lost. And this is where Zerg versus Zerg gets very difficult on both sides, because obviously, as we've seen highlighted in this series, counterattacks are very central to how you beat your opponent. But when both players have half the map, that means there's so many different locations to both attack and defend. It becomes a very difficult juggling act.
Yeah, I mean, Lurkers are one of the most powerful siege units in the game, and the fact that you can just spew out dozens of those into your opponent's base means you cannot let a Nidus worm up inside your production, inside your tech. Another Roach attack here from soO, but is it an overextension? Snipes down a few high-value units, but he's going to lose a lot of those on the retreat. The Nidus worm is going to get sniped. A lot of those Roaches do fall. Once again, Serral here, happy to take these defensive trades. soO has the bigger bank, but Serral is adding more Lurkers and more Vipers to his army.
Yeah, great play so far here. Both these guys really showing how strong they are at ZvZ. What I worry, though, for soO here, though, is that Serral's shown that he's got the stamina in these late game situations, that he really is better at this type of game in this matchup than any other player in the world. So let's wait and see for how things develop here. We've got a lot of Vipers coming in here for Serral. soO right now making a lot of Lurkers, Vipers, and Hydras of his own.
A lot of Vipers, actually. Cool to see from soO, just really adding so much to that. Now, when these fights start, this is about to add a very, a very complicated stage of the game. As I say that, 4 Lurkers straight out into the main base. I mean, that's a really nice attack. If they can get on the mineral line especially, note they're just going to try and engage the Roaches as they come up there. 4 Lurkers, a very scary force. Where's the Blinding Cloud?
Oh my
soO?
god, this is so much damage. Finally, he gets the Blinding Cloud off, but already another Nidus Network pops out. That is denied here as well. But in the center of the map, there is another push coming forward here, and it might be targeted for this hatchery that was already destroyed once in this game.
So the next engagements, watch out for those big green clouds on the ground, the blinding clouds. They stop any unit, they reduce their range to melee range. So obviously both of these armies, big long-ranged armies, blinding clouds are going to force a player to disengage. They're going to have to unburrow their Lurkers, pull out of that situation, and pull back. And right now we see Serral creating these problems, but when the big fight actually happens, it's all about those Vipers trying to pull each other into the Hydralisk and trying to land those big killer blinding clouds.
Both players are trying to stretch to the opposite corners of the map. We see that the hatcheries for soO are going to be placed, if it goes on, if the game goes on for long enough, over there in the far upper right. Same thing for Serral here in the far bottom left. But it's going to be hard to get there again with these Nidus plays continuously happening.
Oh, and another one popping up in the main of soO at the same time. Tunneling Claw Roaches on the right. soO does respond, but Lurkers get out and they're on the high ground in range of the drones on that natural. This Spine Crawler goes down, as do some of the defenses. A few workers are going to fall there as well. Oh, big blinding clouds here for soO, and he yanks a few of those Lurkers right into his army. But lots of Viper energy still there for Serral. You've got to be so wary of those Lurkers.
Very scary attack coming in there, hitting that location. Meanwhile, that upper right hatchery is probably going to be taking out Lurkers over here inside the main. Another Nidus on the way as well. Can soO handle this balancing act?
Oh, he's losing so much of his damage output here. He's trying to take out the Nidus, but that Lurker taking out so many units. It looks like soO will just barely stop that next Nidus worm from coming up, but he lost 15 drones and his 5th base in the midst of it. Serral's bank starting to catch up. He's ahead on workers, and he's catching up in the bank. He's just going to try and wear soO down. He can fight like this all day. It's going to be a battle of the Vipers here.
Yeah, we have some more skirmishes in the middle of the map, but it looks like Serral is slowly inching his way forward. He's already taken out that upper right base. That was one of the bigger victories in the latter part of this game. Now he wants to try to advance, ideally breaking this ramp and then pushing up and denying soO from having the upper right quadrant of the map.
I'd love to see a little bit of a duct coming down here on the opponent's Vipers. Both players targeting the Lurkers instead and using a lot more Blinding Cloud. Lurker on the top does survive, does keep the hatchery alive, that is. More Hydras, more Vipers on the way for Serral. And he's doing a good job of engaging, but I feel like soO's holding his own so far. I mean, his bank stays ahead about 1,000 minerals and about a couple hundred gas.
As soO slowly inches forward, there is a planned counterattack with a Nidus in the southern part of the map, but I'm worried for soO here. Serral is coming in so well with these attacks. Another wide range of blinding clouds coming down, making an attack here impossible as soO retreats.
Perfect split on the parasitic bomb there from Serral as well, and he does actually split those Vipers off. But I think he's going to have to pull back and get energy. His Vipers are all low on energy. Actually, Serral says, nah, I'm going to try and push up that ramp. At the same time, Roaches coming in on the other side of the map. But look at this, these Lurkers controlling the natural of soO could open up a push path for the Finn.
Beautiful play here by soO, doing a little bit of damage. It's going to go a long way, but most importantly, soO has to survive the attacks that are coming here from Serral. Each of these locations is getting weaker and weaker, and this foothold that Serral has right now is so strong. I'm not clear on whether or not soO can actually save this spot.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get Lurkers burrowed on this high ground as well, that would be amazing. Serral looking to just hold this one position. Great blinding clouds going down there on both sides. All those Lurkers on the left have been shut down by soO's blinding clouds. He forces him to unburrow and retreat. Only one Lurker survives for Serral.
I think Serral intelligently so backs off, realizing he's not going to get many more benefits from trying to stay in that position for much longer. And in a very ambitious play, we have soO also taking the upper right side of the map as he's going to push out and try to comb through here and dominate this central position.
It's been a while since we've seen someone take Serral to this stage of the game. It is always a pleasure to watch. soO so far holding his own. But I think the units lost now starting to favor Serral just a little bit, and that's exactly how he aims to win in the late game. It's all about the efficiency. You can see there he is leading by about 3,000 minerals.
Wow.
And over time, that's going to expand if soO doesn't make some big plays here. He's looking to play the even game, but I think what we need to see from soO is more abducts on the Lurkers and more abducts from the Vipers. That will really just whittle down the tech units, and you've got to start cutting into Serral's gas count because his bank is getting massive.
I love these very cost-efficient harassments that are coming out on the mini-map. For instance, we had those few lings going to the upper right just to try to kill some workers here and there. And also these lurkers coming out, because once they burrow, a lot of drones can be picked off, and you then have to get detection over there. Again, just causing more of a headache for your opponent.
Absolutely. Uh-oh, squad on the left-hand side is being caught here. Abduct's going to go down. We'll snatch one of those lurkers in. At the same time, Serral, most of his army's over to the right. This base is in a little bit of trouble. He's going to at least lose the gas geyser.
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to push it any further here. He might try to snipe the hatchery, but that's going to be tough to actually pull off. Meanwhile, over here, this lurker is still burrowed. It could possibly take out the upper right hatchery.
Oh, those Hydras there. The Blinding Cloud misses the Lurkers. The Lurkers do add a nice bit of splash damage, but 2 Lurkers unsupported, not going to be enough to take on that many Hydras. That is 47 Hydralisks from soO. This is an absolutely insane army. He's realizing that because the Blinding Clouds are so big, it's hard to use Lurkers in a direct engagement. So because of that, Serral just splitting his Lurkers off. He's harassing from all different sides, and he keeps falling back with staggered defense on the front. He's just got to worry about one big, brutal frontal push. soO's Hydra count, its mobility, he's up to 57 Hydralisks, Tasteless.
Very impressive stuff here. I gotta say though, soO, he's doing, I think this is the best game he's played so far.
Yeah.
He's continuing to roam. He's got very good map control. He's basically locked Serral out of getting any kind of push into the upper right. We just saw 22 workers though picked off here, which is going to even out their worker count. There are periods in the super late game where workers become less important than main army, and here we have Blinding Clouds coming down on both sides, making an attack here so difficult.
The Vipers get the abducts off. A nice hold position there. Serral holding positioning on his Hydras allows them to snipe down the Vipers after the abducts. His Lurkers were recessed there. They were a little bit behind the initial start of the push. Because of that, Serral baited the Hydras in, did massive damage to soO's army, and took out some of his important tech units. We see 4 Vipers being rebuilt, but that's up against a Serral who has never dipped down. Ever since he went up to 9 Vipers, he has been sitting there for several minutes. That is so much utility with those spellcasters.
I just don't know if Serral can actually break through here. The angling is so good for soO's army. We even saw a small number of Hydras come up, attack the upper left side of the map, and then run away immediately, just hoping that maybe soO would end up over-defending, but he has not in any way done that this time around.
He's going to poke on the left.
He's going to do it again.
The Hydra's going in the left, and Hydra's on the right.
Away.
Yeah, over on the natural. He's brought some Lurkers this time. Going to create a big problem for soO. Just a couple of Hydralisks, not going to be enough to defend that. And he's going to start to push forward. At the same time, this opens up the right-hand side. It is a classic 1-2 punch. It's one of Serral's favorite maneuvers at this stage of the game. Create a big problem with a harassment on one side of the map, sacrifice that force, and it can open up a big window for your main army to push through.
And now with these Lurkers on the high ground, it's going to be very difficult for soO to try to defend this location, as Serral has pounced over here, and there is just nothing to defend.
Yeah, he does have to worry about a Hydralisk flank, because he's only got a couple of Lurkers in there.
Wow, he is so patient. Never overextending is Serral. He's backed off again, using these burrowed Hydras that I thought were destroyed are actually there to spot to help have another Nidus network come through.
Yeah, he's relentless. He's just bouncing around, creating problems. soO has to be in so many places at once, and look at that. Another chance to abduct some Vipers. Parasitic Bombs do actually land a few kills that time around, but he loses all of his Vipers for it. Blinding Clouds blanketing both sides of this engagement, and he has to pull back, does Serral. He's still got a Lurker alive. A lot of his Vipers fell to the Parasitic Bombs, though. Really nice Parasitic Bombs from soO.
Yeah, soO now pushing down here into the south. soO looking for his opportunity, but there is a Nidus being made just in the upper right corner of the map for a counterattack here. soO decides it's not worth it, but again, this Nidus going uncontested could allow Serral to spill into the upper right corner.
So funny watching these big balls of Hydralisks move around the map, but the power of the Lurker, the power of the Viper, means those Roaches not as good a unit at this stage in the game. They're just too short range, too low damage. He's going to be able to
snipe this hatchery. If he gets this, it's huge. It does go down.
Yeah, then he repositions out of range of the Lurker as well, just trying to be so annoying here. And continuing to be a real pain in the butt for soO to deal with. the Hydras, the Lurkers controlling the middle of the map. We can see that Serral here, he's got the scarier army. He's built back up his Viper count. He's still continuing to just pressure with Nidus Worms on all sides.
Another Nidus coming here in the main. While soO is chasing Serral out of the center, Serral has now focused his attention on the far edges of the map. As soO is trying to recover and retake the upper right, he's now going to have to deal with this major attack here in his main.
That infestation pit's going to go down. The Hive is also in jeopardy. At the same time, a lovely arc in the middle of the map of Ducks. Even just Overseers going down does cost money of soO right now, but soO has kind of outpositioned him. Serral, he's separated from his economy on the left-hand side of this map. soO is going to press forward. He's going to look to seal the deal on Serral's economy. If he can take out this entire bottom left-hand side of the map, it's going to be massive.
But as he does that, he's losing all the infrastructure in his main, and there's still plenty of opportunities with Hive Tech here for Serral to continue to use Niduses to hit multiple locations over and over.
soO missed his opportunity to get further in there, didn't want to overextend, and so much trouble for him back in his main base. Those blinding clouds are massive. Both sides taking heavy losses in that skirmish.
One thing I gotta go point out here, big picture, there is hardly any minerals banked up here for soO, hardly any gas. Right now, Serral has plenty more. So even though the supplies are fairly even, after a couple fights, it may come out with Serral slightly ahead.
Yeah, Serral down on workers right now, but as you said, better army, better bank right now. The Viper count still looking very healthy for him, and he's definitely got way more Lurkers. Much more of a Hydra Viper focus here from soO. A big engagement starts. Lurkers in the back doing big damage, but the ones in the front a little bit slow to unburrow and get out of that blinding cloud. A lot of Overseers actually just got sniped as well. Serral just lost about 5 Overseers. They were all on hold position at the front of that fight. A big misstep from the Finnish player. soO here, he's got an army that's a little bit smaller. He's looking eager to push in, gets the hatch snipe. That's a freebie, man.
Yeah, that was pretty ambitious to try to take the hatchery there in the middle of that fight. Serral is pushing forward, taking more control of the center once again here. Things are getting very dicey. Remember that Serral also is low on workers. He's not sucking up as many of the resources on the map as soO will over time.
Does still have his Hive up though, so can remake Vipers. Right now, I'm not seeing any Vipers with this army. I think, he's only got 1 Viper against 6. And soO's lair hasn't even finished rebuilding. It's several minutes until he can build more Vipers. Only 1 on the map up against the 6. That is insane. The Lurkers here continuing to cause problems. Brings an Overseer with him. Wins the Lurker versus Lurker fight. soO's mineral line in trouble.
Yeah, and as these Hydras will come up here and clean this out, there's another push coming just south of this. And there it is now. And that's so many Lurkers, and these Lurkers get shut down as well. There is no defense over in this position. And once again, Serral takes out another key base here of soO's.
Hydra's coming in for a flank, but I mean, that's a bit of a misstep from soO. His army is smaller right now. Remember, he's been on such a Hydra focus. This is such a fragile army. He doesn't have the meat of those Lurkers to back him up. It's almost pure Hydras, and without the Vipers to support it, this is not the army you want at this stage of the game.
We have soO coming down now. Looks like he might try to take a fight over here. It's going to be hard to win, though, with so many Lurkers, especially with these blinding clouds coming down. And I don't know that soO can take this in any fashion.
Wow, that was just perfect blinding clouds. Without the Vipers, you see just how weak soO's army is. He can't blinding cloud the Lurkers, and without that, he cannot stand his ground. Head-to-head, Serral's army is simply better. Hydras are going to try to run past. He's going to try and take an engagement by forcing soO to kind of headbutt into him. But look at that, he's even abducting Hydralists in. Serral here, his army is so good. As long as he doesn't headbutt up that ramp, he is good to break through. He might even just use Blinding Cloud here. Does not have the energy. Takes an awful engagement, but he's got the numbers. It doesn't even matter.
It's too much. GG! Serral wins 3-0 versus soO. Moving on to the round of 4. Incredible play.
He just knew he had it there at the end. When he came to shove, he was just the stronger one, standing in the face of non-stop assaults. And what a game to finish that series. That was sick.
Really impressive stuff. soO, though, he was holding his own. He did an excellent job, especially dragging this out into the late game. But you can see the decision-making from Serral is impeccable.
He's just a master. He's in a class of his own in this match more than any other. Zerg versus Zerg, he has not been stopped in that matchup for a long time. He's on a massive win streak right now, and we saw why. soO bringing really world-class Zerg versus Zerg. The scoreline still ends up 3-0.
This seems to be a tournament where ZvZ skills are going to be the most important to win. And it looks like he might have the best ZvZ in the entire world, so he may be taking this entire tournament again.
We're going to go to a quick interview now and see how Serral is feeling now that he's moved on to the round of 4.
Thank you very much, Tasteless. Wow, congratulations, Serral. You're advancing to the semifinals here at the WCS Global Finals for the second year in a row. It was a dominant 3-0 victory, and despite that, it felt like a very, very exciting ZvZ. Let's start with talking about Disco Bloodbath and break that down for us, because there was so much aggression and nightises going on from the both of you.
Yeah, I felt like I was in a pretty good spot all the games, but then when the 90s phase came up, I kind of fell apart a bit, and I think the Disco was a very good example of that. But I don't know, I was just so much, I mean, I don't think I was that much ahead after the start, but I was still in a very good spot, so even though he got a couple of big 90s in my main and I just ran into them and lost a lot of stuff, I was still able to win, since I had a faster hive and everything, so yeah, I don't know, some mistakes from me for sure.
And Ephemeron was similarly exciting. It sort of went into that late game with both of you going Hydra Viper. Talk to us about how that went for you and why you think you were able to win at the very end.
I mean, I think I just had more expansions most of the game. And I'm not even sure if I traded Petra or Burst, honestly. I didn't take the best fights ever. But I don't know, ZvZ late game is all about bases and then just trying to get good trades with Vipers. I think this was a very messy late game, so not in my taste, but will do.
It will do indeed, because you still secured that 3-0 victory, and now in the semifinals, you're going to be playing either Raynor or Trap. A lot of history against both of these guys, undefeated against Trap, and of course, Raynor, you've played multiple times in the finals this year, so who do you think will be moving on to face you?
Well, I'm expecting Raynor to make it through, but it's always a bit hard to predict these games. There's a lot in the line, and it's Raynor's pretty much his first entrance to BlizzCon, so we'll see how he plays, but I think if he's going to play his best, he's going to probably make it, and it's going to be an exciting semifinal.
Exciting indeed. Congratulations once again, Serral, on making it to the semifinals. Casters, back to you.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's going to be able to stop Serral. He looked so terrifying in those games. Again, perfect early game, perfect mid game, perfect late game. I don't know, man. I don't know how you're supposed to stop this guy.
I mean, I just love his attitude, right? When perfection is what you aim for, mistakes are surely made. He keeps saying this in interviews, and we're looking at it and saying this is about as close to perfect as you can get. I mean, that just shows the standards he sets for himself. Always looking for more efficiency and just to smash it, and he goes through flying colors in the first round.
So here's our bracket so far. Serral is the first player to advance to the round of 4. Up next, it's Raynor versus Trap, then Rogue versus Classic, and Dark versus Maro. Again, a very Zerg-heavy round of 8, and we already have one of those Zergs going on. Coming up next is going to be Raynor versus Trap. Trap, one of our only Protosses.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Protoss players are rooting for him right now.
I mean, he's had such a good year, right? And obviously the Protoss players saying, hey, this is the guy, we really want him to do well. I mean, Trap's just been very good, but this is the matchup he struggled in as well. PVZ for him has been that problem matchup. Raynor's a real kind of interesting player though, because last time we saw Trap get shut down by Rogue. This time around, Raynor is a kind of very different Zerg player. So I'm just super excited to see how that series plays out.
We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, Trap vs. Raynor, don't go away. We will be right back.
BlizzCon 2019 is brought to you by T-Mobile. Their newest signal goes farther than ever, and it's built 5G ready. MSI, True Gaming. Intel, the official CPU partner of BlizzCon. Cisco, the official networking partner of BlizzCon. And by HyperX. We're all gamers.